Welcome to High School Sports Talk presented by VirginiaPreps.com and Larry King Law on this 90-minute edition until 11:30 this morning. Then it's Penn State and Purdue, some Big Ten college football. I am Matt Hatfield, and joining me from somewhere out there beneath the – no, I won't sing it. He was here last night filling in for me. Usually it's Thomas Simmons filling in for me. He was filling in for me on the 757 at 6. The longtime basketball coach at Nansman River High School in Suffolk. We say hello to the coach, Ed Young. Somewhere. Are you there?
I'm here.
He's happy because his Yankees won, right?
Yankees won.
But guess what? We don't care about the Yankees. We care about Baby Shark and the Washington Nationals, my new favorite team. I've ditched the Diamondbacks. And Alex and me are dancing to Baby Shark today. Do-do-do-do, Baby Shark, do-do-do-do-do, Baby Shark. Deadlocked, going back to D.C.
Hold up. Alex, can Alex hear me?
Alex is dancing. He can't hear you. He's ignoring you. Good job, Alex. Good job. Alex Brooks, our producer today.
Now, I blame this on Alex. Matt, I understand, Alex, but Matt is touched. You should know more than to put that kind of song on the doggone airwaves of high school sports.
Come on.
I got my Nats hat on.
Yeah, he's got his Nats hat on, and we got two. We're going to get to high school football scores, folks, so just hold tight. We're going to get to all the games last night, and there's a couple of games where I'm going to eat crow. I've got a plate of crow to eat here because Ed Young is going to give it to me on a shovel, and I'm going to take my whooping. Yeah, well, you didn't win all of them. You won most of them. He caught ground. He was down 5 going into last night, and he made up some ground on me last night, and I'm going to hear about it probably throughout the weekend and leading into next week's games. But we do have a couple local guys. We got to salute Daniel Hudson, whose story coming back from the injuries and thinking that guy was buried as a player out of Old Dominion University and Princess Anne High School, as well as Ryan Zimmerman from Kellum High in Virginia Beach. So you got to root for the Nats because they got some local dudes that played high school baseball here, Ed.
I want the Yankees to beat the Nats 7 games in the World Series. I'll go that far.
Okay.
I'll go that far. I want Tampa Bay to play the Yankees for the right to go to the World Series and lose in 5 or 7, whatever they're going to play.
Okay.
Only because of Brandon Lau, good friend of ours in the show.
Nansman River grad, exactly.
Nansman River grad who plays for Tampa Bay.
Okay.
I did want the Braves, but I don't mind. I'll take Nats. I'll see the Nats in the World Series, but neither the Nats nor the Braves will be in the World Series. And as I said on your show last night,
you did.
I don't think the Yankees will be either.
Well, they're not getting swept. You said that on the air that they're going to get swept in 4 games. Alex, he said that. I said I'll buy a mistake anywhere, and I've also got the Denver Nuggets thing out there too. People are giving me heck about that. Well, you hate on the Nuggets. I don't hate the Nuggets. I just don't think there's any chance of win an NBA championship. But that's
and by the way, for those who didn't hear it, if the Nuggets win an NBA title, you will buy everybody in Max Media Nuggets.
Chicken McNuggets. Yeah, I did say that. I did say that on the air. I had a weak moment. And it's nothing against the Nuggets. I just think it's going to happen. So,
Max Media has about 1,000,007 people that work for them.
A lot of hungry people here. A lot of hungry people here. No question. All right. You ready to go through some high school football scores?
I do, and I don't want to hear Baby Shark again, because if I do, I'm going to call a few friends in.
Oh, I'll show you Noelle. My little niece that loves Baby Shark. She loves it. Let's fire up the... Alex is he's really getting y'all fired up here today. All right, there's your Baby Shark. The Nats won all. By the way, a couple of compelling there game 3s in the NL there with the Cards and Braves tomorrow and the Nats and the Dodgers. All right, let's fire up the high school football scoreboard from last night around Hampton Roads. And Ed, I usually ask you where we're going first, but I'm going to give you the game of the night. Yeah, there were some exciting games, but this was the game of the night and the score tonight, and I think Alex knows where I'm going. Tri-Rivers District, our man Keith from Smithfield is a Smithfield fan, but he's a Southampton guy at heart. And Southampton last night, and not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 overtimes outlasted Brunswick County 48-46. You better hear from Keith in Smithfield, the diehard Southampton and Smithfield fan. Although if Smithfield plays Southampton, I'm not sure who he's rooting for. Southampton a winner 48-46 in 5 overtimes. And unfortunately, because Ed Young was on assignment here in the palatial studios of Max Media on Greenwich Road in Virginia Beach, he did not get a chance to see what was maybe the game of the year.
5 overtimes, high scoring. and Southampton prevailed. Yeah, that'll be nice for Keith. But it was good for a lot of those fans. The players are a little bit tired today, but tremendous game.
Real quickly, though, Ed, and Brunswick is not a 7-5-7 Hampton Roads team. You've coached in, I believe, a 4-overtime game in basketball. I want to say it was Lakeland. How do you get your kids back up after a 5-overtime game that you lost? A lot easier to do it when you win, but that you lose. That season's not over, folks.
Well, football-wise, they'll probably do film today. Nothing physical. Hey, it is what it is. We see what we did on film. You know how football guys are with film. I think practice Monday is good. You get ready. You really got to focus on next. Not what you can't change the outcome. It's done with. Something I had to learn late coaching is stop replaying the losses. You don't replay the wins. Don't replay the loss. And if they didn't get blown out. Maybe I don't know what the situation was for how they lost it, but I don't think it's that big of a deal as people think. Now, if they're physically beat up and they're injured and you had a short week, then that's going to be tougher. Because high school mindsets are a lot more fragile than the college or pro level. They can let it run off quick, but high school kids sometimes let it stay on them too long.
Yeah, in the case of Brunswick, they'll be playing Franklin next week, while it'll be Southampton playing host to Greensville, who's a pretty competitive Class 2 team. Speaking of Franklin, by the way, they won 60-16 over Surrey. A couple more Tri-Rivers District scores to get out of the way. Sussex Central all over Windsor. Curtis Jefferson's Tigers win at 54-12 over the Windsor Dukes, and Greensville, as we just mentioned, they've got Southampton next week. Greensville all over Parkview last night, 44-7. Well, the Tri-Rivers is out of the way. Where do you want to go to next?
Well, let's stay in the river. Let's go to the Bay Rivers.
Oh, the Bay Rivers. I see what you did there. BRD. I know we talked about this last time on the 7-5, 7-6. What would be the game of the night between York Tab? It's a rivalry game in Pecos and Smithfield. Well, it turned out to be York and Tab. Doug Pereira's Falcons flying high, unbeaten. They beat the Tab Tigers for the 10th time in 12 seasons, but it didn't come without some resistance from Matt Lawson's Tigers. Down 7-3 at the half. York rallies for a 10-7 win over Tab. The defense for York really playing extremely well in this one as they get the job done. A Cartwright pump block was very critical in this game as well. Got a field goal, and that helped York edge Tab 10-7 in a low-scoring game over there in the Bay Rivers. Pecos and Smithfield, a little more excitement in terms of the scoreboard, in terms of big plays and touchdowns, but it was not as tight. Pecosin pulling away from Smithfield 31-12 as they got a real grand effort, and I do mean grand effort from their rushing attack. Elliott Duty's Islanders mixing it up with several different ball carriers as they got over 400 yards on the ground against the Packers last night. Other Bay Rivers District results, no real surprise in this one. Lafayette 55, New Kent 2, as the Lafayette offense, now that they have Vashad Phillips back in the backfield with Christian Wilkerson, really giving opponents problems. New Kent unable to get in the end zone. They lose at 55-2 to Lafayette. And War Hill, we got to start talking more about War Hill under first-year coach Jerome Rhodes. They've been running the football well, tackling people extremely well on defense. All over Jamestown, 54-7, and Ed, War Hill is 5-0. They've outscored their opponents 176-46. Of note, though, none of those 5 opponents have a winning record except next week when they play host to King William, a Class 2 school that might be their biggest test yet.
Well, it looks like Bay Rivers went according to form. York Tab, I predicted a high-scoring game as games of the past didn't happen. York pulls it out, but Tab showed resistance. And I thought Pecos and Smithfield would be closer. I even thought Smithfield could win that. Didn't turn out to be that way. And, of course, Lafayette back on track after a loss to York. And you're right, War Hill, we don't talk much about it all. Undefeated and destroying people. So they've hit their midseason stride. And like I said on your show last night, this is the time right now where what direction you going? Playoff form or, you know what, let's play out the season. And War Hill's definitely playoff mode.
They are. Now, they are 5-0, Ed, and they are the number 1 seed at the moment in Region 4A. Their games to finish up the regular season: King William at Pecosin. They host Grafton at York and Lafayette. You might have said they would lose 4 of those 5 games to begin the year. They're the number 1 seed at the moment, ahead of Churchland, ahead of Lake Taylor in Region 4A. Will they finish up the regular season as the number 1 seed, yes or no?
Wow, with that schedule. Ooh.
I don't think so.
I see a couple. I shouldn't say it loud, but I see a couple losses there.
I do too.
And you don't want to go the other way. If you're going to lose, you want to lose early. You don't want to lose late. But no, I don't. I see a couple losses. I won't say to who, but I see a couple losses, and the answer, they probably won't be a number one seed, but still wouldn't be a type of team I want to play.
Well, they're going to make the postseason, and what is nice to see, though, is that the Bay Rivers District, unlike the Beach, Eastern, Southeastern, and Peninsula, we might see the district title decided in the final week or two as they finish up at York and against Lafayette. Those three, the main contenders in the Bay Rivers. Pocosin with an outside shot there as well. All right, Bay Rivers and Tri-Rivers are done. What's the other district we're going to go to before we head to break and then do some more scores in the next segment? Where do you want to go?
Well, let's stay over the rivers and stay in the peninsula.
Over the rivers and through the woods to Grandma's house we go. I used to sing that song as a 4-year-old child.
You're really pushing your luck. You know you're pushing your luck.
He's going to hang up on me, Alex.
Baby Shark was number one. That's probably strike number two. And just like baseball, I'm going to give you 3.
Well, did we start to count with an 0-2 count, though? I think you started with an 0-2 count. All right. You said Peninsula? Is that what you said? I was too stuck.
We're going Peninsula.
All right. Here we go.
Get your mind right.
I'm getting my mind right. Get my brain right, get my body right, get my mind right. Tell you what, the Kickintan Warriors, they got their minds and bodies right. Rough start to the year for Alonzo Coley's Warriors. 0-5, hadn't scored more than 2 touchdowns. Well, the recipe for success was playing another team that was 0-5, that being Denby, and they nearly doubled them up, 27-14. Kickintan with its first breakthrough of the season with a win on Thursday night at Darling Stadium in Hampton. Oh, by the way, 2 games in Hampton and Newport News today. You got Bethel and Hampton kicking off at 12 noon today at Darling Stadium. Both teams 3-2 overall. Ed and me both taking Hampton very close by a whisker in my case. And over at Todd Stadium in Newport News, it's the Heritage Hurricanes taking on the undefeated Woodside Wolverines under the direction of one Danny Dodson as Woodside tries to keep their season undefeated going. It's a 2 o'clock kick over there at Todd Stadium. So it's conceivable to see both games if you go to Bethel Hampton at noon, Heritage Woodside at 2, Bethel Hampton's at Darling, Heritage Woodside's at Todd. Who else won besides Kickintan in the Peninsula? Well, only 2 games last night. Warwick all over Minchville, 27-7 in Newport News as the Warwick Raiders get the job done over their Newport News rival, and really 27 unanswered points for the Raiders as quarterback Derek Nixon rushed for 95 yards and a touchdown, also had 133 yards passing and a score. And depending on what you believe, he had either 4 or 5 touchdowns. I've seen it reported both ways. 4 touchdowns, 5 touchdowns. Regardless, he fell in the end zone more than 3 times. We're talking about junior running back Anthony Turner as he led the way for the Phoebus Phantoms. Also got some help from his backfield mate Jalen White, who's headed to Navy. Phoebus 42, Gloucester 7.
Well, not much to talk about in those games. Everything definitely went according to form. I told Coach Parker, Tracy Parker, defensive coordinator for Phoebus, I think I picked them 36-12. He said, "So you think Gloucester scored 12 on us?" I said, "Not against your, anything bad against your defense, but Gloucester's okay this year. They're a good ball club, but I guess he took it personally and only let him in the end zone once."
Well, and that Phoebus defense has gotten better since the 23-22 loss to Lake Taylor in the opener, allowing just 6.5 points per game during this 4-game winning streak. They've got Denby and Warwick next. The game of the year on the Peninsula, though, October 24th on a Thursday night over at Darling Stadium. It'll be Woodside and Phoebus. Both could very well be unbeaten in the Peninsula. Remember, Phoebus had the 1 loss early to Lake Taylor out of district. We'll tell you about Lake Taylor, how they did against Verina, and other results, including in the Beach District, the Southeastern District. Give us a call at 757-687-9494 on our Trinity and Trilogy Tattoo Hotline with the coach, Ed Young. I'm Matt Hatfield. Alex Brooks along for a ride as well, right here on your home for sports. It's ESPN Radio 94.1.
This is High School Sports Talk, presented by VirginiaPreps.com on ESPN Radio 94.1.
Back here with you on this 5th day of October. It's the first Saturday of October for 2019. Matt Hatfield here with you. We've got the coach, Ed Young, on assignment for the moment. He'll be coming in here shortly. Alex Brooks as well here on High School Sports Talk, presented by VirginiaPreps.com. And Larry King Law, if you're injured in an accident, you call 757-INJURED for Larry King. That's 757-INJURED for Larry King. We'll get back to the scoreboard here in a moment. Tell you who won in the Eastern, the Beach, and the Southeastern to join the teams we told you about that won in the last segment, such as Warwick and Phoebus and Kickintan and York. York and War Hill, Lafayette, Poquoson, and so many others, including those Tri-Rivers games with Southampton, Franklin, Sussex Central, and Greensville County all prevailing. But let's take a quick phone call here for us at 757-687-9494 on the Trinity and Trilogy Tattoo Hotline. And we're going to get to our man Keith as well. But up first, it's going to be, I believe, Mike in Norfolk. You're on ESPN Radio. Mike, how you doing?
Hey, guys. Last week you were talking about smaller programs having success.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in Kempsville in the 70s where we didn't even have graduating classes. We would compete against larger high schools with freshmen and sophomores, and we just learned, Ray Barlow would go out. I would be at a Little League team, and he would come out and talk to the coach about who was doing well and who's coming up and things like that to add to his little program. I mean, he had nothing. So he built a program, and then when my sister came along, Wayne Martin had just graduated college, and they offered him the Great Bridge job. And he said, why don't you bring your kids and come on out there with me? And he built the programs that you know are famous for, Great Bridge against the whole state. And I would be sitting at the Thanksgiving table, and they'd be talking to him. And I said, y'all doing good this year? Well, we are, but Grundy's better than us. I asked, well, who is Grundy? Well, they're a little school in Virginia that everybody in the city is involved in wrestling. And they would go to the national tournaments, and Grundy would be seated higher than the Great Bridge. So it's not how well can you beat the Bushes. It is a gargantuan for a coach to come into a 3 or a 4 and compete. But he has to go down to the lower levels at the beginnings where Pee Wee football and build from there. I mean, guys, it is done, but it is not an easy task. But my family got lucky. They got with 2 programs that did very well. I mean, the coach at Great Bridge softball is my uncle, and he took a lot of lessons from Wayne. You got to beat the Bushes. You got to go out and talk to the first year and second year coaches and let them know who have you got, who's doing well, where are they going, and it was like. I know how it's done because I sat at the table and listened. But you can't, if you're not a 3 and a 4A coach, you've got to kill yourself to get the job done. But you got to go out and talk to everybody, and you got to beat the Bushes.
Very good.
I'll
Very
take
good
it off
point.
the air.
Thank you, Mike, for the call. We appreciate it. And Ed, to follow up on that, you know this better than anybody, being a coach of nearly 30 years at the high school level. You've also coached college ball out of state, even the Division I level with Quinnipiac. I think you hit on something there. I mean, Highland Springs, I know they're not a 3 or a 4A here. I'll use them as an example, and also Oscar Smith closer to home here. Lauren Johnson and the Springers had the longest winning streak in the state, and they're on the drive for 5 state titles in a row, I think largely because they've got, let's just call it what it is, they have a lot of talent there, but they've got a lot of coaches on their staff that were people that coached some of these kids in rec ball. They know them when they were younger. They were playing peewee ball. And I think the relationships with some of those guys, whether you can consider them good or bad, helps a great deal. And I think one of the masters of it down here that's really cultivated great relationships with some of the youth groups has been Chris Scott at Oscar Smith. I mean, before that he was at, obviously, Bishop Sullivan and Ocean Lakes. But I think you have to be a people person and be able to interact. And that's kind of one of the first steps, especially when you're new to a program.
True. You do want to know where your feeder programs are coming from, who's there, if you have true feeder programs. When you talk about people that are wrestling in Grundy, these small towns, the pipeline to the high school is so much easier. The distractions are so less. The younger coaches are willing to listen to the coaches above, the high school coaches, to come down, conduct clinics, help the coaches, teach them some methods about coaching, some ideas, build relationship. The smaller the level, the easier it is. The bigger the school and the more involved, the harder it is. There's a resistance from coaches, younger coaches. Some of them think they know it all, and I'll use me as an example. Let's say I want to put on a clinic for the younger coaches in the area that have some of the younger teams. The turnout is not what you think it'd be. And then we sit back and wonder why, and part of it is sometimes guys think they know it all. They don't need to be coached how to coach or what they should be doing in coaching. The younger levels is 95% fundamentals, period. You work constantly to the point of boredom on the fundamentals that are universal. A lot of coaches don't want to do that. They're into hurry up and playing 11 on 11, 5 on 5, and show people they can win. And that's the cart in front of the horse theory. You can't do that. The lower the level, strictly fundamental, period. I know you got to teach the game. They got to play the game. They got to understand what the fundamentals mean as to what the final product is, the game. But it's not being done the way it should be. If it is, then somebody come and educate me, because what I've seen, what I've heard, and I talk a lot about to the players, what it was like when they grew up, and they tell you it's, guys get cut and it's 5 on 5 and you don't see the development. And then they get into high school and I'm teaching them how to shoot a left-hand layup. When you're in high school, you should not be teaching a kid how to shoot a left-hand layup, though I believe my philosophy in coaching is don't ever get on a kid for something he don't know how to do unless you taught him. If you didn't teach him it, you can't get on the kid about that. You must teach him. And the fundamentals are still important at the high school level. In each level you go. But each level you go, it's more game strategy than the fundamentals you should be emphasizing on. So I understand what Mike is saying from Norfolk, but I'm telling you, the bigger the school, the less of that you see.
Well, I see just outside the window that Ed Young's car is here, Alex. So I'm glad that he's brought us donuts and great breakfast food. We'll let you in the building and bring in the breakfast food and do some more scores next segment. But before we go to break, he's been waiting for almost 20 minutes. We got to talk to our good buddy and pal, the one and only Keith from Smithfield, who I think is now with us here. Keith, good morning. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fine. How you doing? About half 8. How you doing this morning?
Doing well.
Feel good.
How about that game last night? Southampton. I know Smithfield took an L, but Southampton, 5 overtimes. Were you there?
No, I wasn't there in my alumni school last night. I wasn't there last night.
Keith, you missed the game of the year. Literally 94 points in 5 overtimes. You'd have been going delirious.
Yes, sir. Their game was at Brunswick last night. I wasn't there last night. I will be there next Friday night when they host Greensville. I'll be there.
They made the Bulldogs into Brunswick stew. Not really. It was 48-46. It was a great ball game, and I think two teams that, though it was exhausting, got to take something from it, that they were able to compete that long and that hard and go at it for literally 5 overtimes. That's like literally playing 2.5 games.
Yes, and also they got a good coach on Travis first year, Travis Parker. Them guys try to get the system down with him, get the system on the system. They'll be all right. Greensville is a powerhouse. And it's going to be a tough game for Southampton next Friday night.
Yeah, Greensville's pretty good. I think they're a team that people are sleeping on in Class 2. Southampton's going to have a hard time to make Region 3A, not because that they lack the talent or they're not good enough. They are good enough. It's just it's really top-heavy with a lot of teams competing there. Keith, as you know, York is undefeated. Phoebus is very good. Lafayette's now in Division 3. Norcom's only got 1 loss, and they got some tough ones coming up with Lake Taylor and Morgan in the Eastern District. But it's very jam-packed up there. They could be jockeying with, say, a Booker T, maybe even a Petersburg for one of those last couple of spots when we get to November.
Yes, and 2 things. We came away with a loss like that. We got to get 20 minutes back to get back on the winning wave. Against Lafayette this Thursday night, it's going to be a tough road for us.
Yeah, it sounds like. I mean, you guys got some speedsters and some athletes, but and your defense was playing very well up until the game last night. You beat Norview 9-3 back there in mid-September, but for the 42 given up to War Hill and all the rushing yards to Pocosin, I don't know if the run defense is going to have to really step it up big time to be able to contain Lafayette the way they're playing. Yes,
sir. The last thing, I heard my boy he going to Penn State. I don't know the shooting that
Keandre Lambert, yes.
Going to Penn State, and I'm going to congratulate him to Penn State.
Keep listening, Keith. They played it back last night on the 757 at 6. Coach Ed Young did. It's going to be up on VirginiaPreps.com. If we don't have time to squeeze it in today, you'll either hear Keandre's interview about his commitment to Penn State or Doree McCain, his coach, talk about Keandre going to Penn State. We've also got some interviews with Cox coach Bill Stachelski after his win over Kellum, Gunnar White, the running back from Tallwood, and we'll try to get in Karan Prunty of Norcom, who's headed to Liberty as well. If you missed that, though, it'll be up later on VirginiaPreps.com.
Yes, sir. Y'all have a nice day.
You too, Keith.
Hi,
one
Keith.
and only Keith from Smithfield, the diehard Packers of Smithfield and Indians of Southampton fan.
Did he say that Smithfield plays Lafayette next?
They do.
He'll be depressed next weekend also.
I think you're right. We're going to take a timeout and then come back with some more scores around the high school football scene. Give us a call at 757-687-9494 on our Trinity and Trilogy Tattoo Hotline at 757-687-9494. And always hit us up on Twitter, too, at HS Sports Talk 941. HS Sports Talk 941 on your Sports Connection, ESPN Radio 94.1.
Now back to high school sports talk on ESPN Radio 94.1, presented by VirginiaPreps.com. Here's Matt Hatfield and Coach Ed Young.
Back here on ESPN Radio 94.1, it is high school sports talk presented by VirginiaPreps.com and Larry King Law. I am Matt Hatfield. We got Alex Brooks on the other side of the glass, and he's now in studio. The dapper, one and only, the coach. Your name is Bob Knight? Oh, no, it's not Bob Knight. What's your name? Is it Joe Torre?
I wish I was at that level.
It's not Joe Torre. What is your name again?
No, Buck Showalter.
Robert De Niro? Oh, Buck Showalter.
He might be Robert De Niro right now. Isn't he being
yeah, Robert De Niro. We can't have him in front of any microphones. He might say something that'll get us off the air. He might go, don't say Lee Ilya. You heard that the other day. I said you, right? He might go Lee Ilya. I don't know if Alex got that one, Lee Ilya. We'll play it for you during break. Lee Ilya, the former Cubs manager. Dino knows about that one.
Former White Sox shortstop.
Yeah,
back
he's
in the day.
he set a world. He's in the Guinness Book of World Records, but not for something necessarily positive. Oh no, it's Ed Young. Good to see you.
I'm back. First time in studio for this show in a while.
And he has his Yankees turtleneck on, isn't that?
How's my turtleneck?
Yeah, but we'll just keep doing we might even hit you with a song later. Let's fire up the score.
Wait a minute, hold on. Before we fire the scoreboard, I did hear you correct earlier say you have dumped the D-backs and you're now a national fan. Is that till next year?
Temporarily. I'm a bandwagon hopper. I'm rooting for the Nats for the playoffs. I got to have somebody to root for.
Okay.
Arizona's not in it.
Someday you'll come to your senses.
Now listen, they'd be in it if they didn't get rid of Zach Greinke and if they kept Daniel Hudson, who once upon a time played for the D-backs.
The big one when they got rid of Goldschmidt.
And Paul Goldschmidt, yeah.
That was the one.
Well, and listen, they should never got rid of him or Justin Upton, who was another 7.57 guy in the case of Upton and Hudson here. But you don't trade your best pitcher when you're still in the hunt to break. You heard I ranted with Ray from Wild Wing about that. You just don't do that. It's terrible. Anyways, you'll get me all fired up here. I'm in a chipper mood. Let's talk about some scores from last night in high school football. What district are we going to? I think I know where you're going to go now to pummel me, aren't you? Might as well.
No, I'm going to be calm. Southeastern District.
Oh, you're going to save it for last, aren't you?
Save it for last.
You're going to just save it to just really just twist the knife in on me. Southeastern District last night, we both actually got a game wrong in the SED. We both went 4-1. Didn't make up any ground in this district. The one we got wrong, we both took Great Bridge over Hickory. Hickory won 19-18. I think the simulator got it right, though, VHSLreference.com. We do it the picks every week up on VirginiaPreps.com. But hats off to Donnell Brown, the former JMU Duke, and Hickory. They get the win over their Chesapeake rival, Great Bridge, by a whisker in the SED last night, 19-18, the final score in that one. What about the River? Well, there was two rivers playing last night. They didn't play each other, Nansemond River and Indian River. Nansemond River in their Suffolk rivalry matchup, victorious over Kings Fork, 30-13 for Nansemond River and Coach Justin Conyers. They get it done with Xavion Evans hitting an 80-yard touchdown run and Brent Stratton adding another score as they got up 16-7. But the Warriors pushed it back up even more to 24-7 and went on to win it 30-13 over the Bulldogs. Indian River, high-scoring game with them in Grassfield. Might have some questions about this Indian River defense a little bit, Ed. They give up 27. They led 20-13 at the half, but Lamarion James, kickoff return for a touchdown. Third quarter gave him a 2-touchdown cushion, and the Braves pulled away 48-27 over Grassfield. Defense that's been flexing its muscles all year long, even in their lone loss, which was to Highland Springs. We're talking about Oscar Smith. They were a winner last night, 56-14 over Western Branch to snap the brief 2-game winning streak for Western Branch. Remember, they had that long losing streak, and Jakari Matthews had a couple of touchdowns in that one. Ramon Copeland scoring as well. Also caught a 57-yard touchdown pass beside his first quarter touchdown reception. Western Branch got to an early lead. It was tied at 14 late in the first quarter, but the Tigers scored the final 42 points, and their defense dominates from there. And the Southeastern District, other result last night, Deep Creek a winner 48-6 over Lakeland. We mentioned this last night on the 757 at 6 Ed. Woodside a lot of quiet undefeated teams. Deep Creek is 5-0. 5-0, fifth win by 23 points or more, although you look at the docket, None of those teams they've beaten have a winning record. They've got Western Branch next. Then it gets tougher with Indian River, Oscar Smith, Kings Fork, and Nansemond River. 3 of those final 4 on the road for Coach Andre Twine's Hornets.
Well, Deep Creek, I think they got the perfect schedule. They're playing the weaker part of their schedule early, building confidence, getting things done, attention to detail, paying attention in practice, having success. But now it'll be amped up because obviously you're going to be playing against better athletes, stronger teams, and now you're going to have to really show what you're doing. But I believe if you've been doing right and those wins gave you confidence, you'll be okay in those games. Now, if you're not paying attention to detail and you're big-headed and you think you're blowing people out, you'll get destroyed. And then the real you comes out in that team. But the rest of that Hickory-Great Bridge, did not Great Bridge miss an extra point?
I think
1 or
so.
2.
Yeah, I think they missed a
2.
couple of those. Yeah, you're right on the spot with that. And Deep Creek moved up from Division 4 to Division 5 this year. They're currently number 4 in the playoff power ratings with an undefeated record. If they were to lose 2 or 3 of those games, it could be like War Hill. War Hill's a 1 seed in 4A, but Deep Creek could fall all the way from a 4 seed to maybe a 7 or 8. By the way, your reward could be Maury in the first round or Salem. Not necessarily a reward for a very good season that Deep Creek is having at the halfway point. So there you go in the SED. I mentioned Indian River, and that's a team, Division 5. They're now sitting at 3-2, Ed. And they came into the week. This is Indian River that was undefeated regular season last year, had the 1 seed. They came in as the 8th seed to last week's playoffs. Their defense has given up 25 points per game. A little bit, dare I say, worried about that. I mean, that's almost 4 touchdowns a game. Now, they have played Northeastern and Nansemond River and Oscar Smith and Kings Fork, some teams that can put the ball in the end zone. But are you a little worried about that? And their defensive end, Antoine Powell-Ryland, who's going to Florida, has been out with an injury, which can be a key reason to that.
Well, you're telling me all those things. I'm going from a little concern to we'll be okay because they're playing stronger teams that can't put the ball in the end zone. One of the top guys, period, in the state is out and missed some games. So, okay, let's get it fixed. Because I got a feeling when they play some of the weaker teams, you're going to see something like 45-0, 52-6 coming up. So they just haven't had that opportunity yet.
Well, and only one of their final 5 games comes against a team above 500. They have at Hickory, Deep Creek, at Western Branch, Great Bridge, and Lakeland. So a chance to get healthy and revved up for the playoffs in a hurry. All right, SED is done. That just leaves the Eastern, the Privates, and the Beach.
Let's go as I flip a coin here.
I'm calling it their heads.
And tails it is. It's the Eastern District.
I can't even beat you in a coin flip. It's terrible. Eastern District, well, this was one you missed. You didn't miss many last night, but you missed this one.
I missed this one big.
By a margin. Verina Lake Taylor. It was Verina 56. Lake Taylor 7. You can read about it, although I'm not sure our 757 people want to read about it on VirginiaPreps.com with Danny Lewis's recap. Danny Lewis. He's got a recap for us up there on VirginiaPreps.com. Verina 56, Lake Taylor 7. I think Verina was averaging like 52 points a game coming into this one. Titans saw running back Malik Newton get hurt in the second quarter. You wonder about his status moving forward. And now the Titans, they were playing much better, Ed. You know, Hank Slater's team, I gave that stat a few weeks ago after a loss. He's like 18-1 regular season. But up next is Norcom. And Norcom last night handled their opponent. We mentioned some of these commitments, with Keandre Lambert of Maury going to Penn State. Deep Creek linebacker Gabe Fooster committed to Liberty the other day. And also going to Liberty is Karan Prunty, the talented two-way standout for the Greyhounds, wide receiver, defensive back. He mans one corner spot. At the other corner spot is Maurice Alton. So you know what happens when teams don't want to throw one corner, they throw the other way. Well, Maurice Alton had 2 interceptions last night as Norcom beat Norview 46-6. Robert Jackson's defense starting to round into form a little bit here after a slow start. The offense carried them in their early game against Petersburg, and they had some struggles against Hopewell, who's playing really great right now. Norcom got a win. So did Churchland, 27-0 over Booker T. Washington as they held Rodney Hammond in check to just 12 yards on the night. The standout for the Bookers. Very impressive job by Donshaw Leonard's defense there at Churchland, headed up by Jelani Fair, the former PA coach. And then it was Maury over Hermitage, 55-14. Listen to the stat line for Eric Gibson, the Maury quarterback. New to the Commodores this year from Granby, 23 of 26, 348 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Can I have him on my fantasy team at quarterback? He got it done as Maury continued to dominate. Another win by 40-plus for Drew McCain's Commodores.
Well, the Gibson kids got some talented athletes to work with. Makes the job easier. Looks like the line's doing their job. Hardest thing in football at any level is blocking. They must be doing it, giving him time. That youngster, is he getting some offers?
Not to our knowledge yet, but you're right. You play alongside 5 Division I commits with Lambert going to Penn State, a wide receiver. Ty Granger, a wide receiver, had a great night last night for Maury, going to Towson. C.J. Beasley, the running back, going to Virginia Tech. Deshaun Peel, a wide receiver, going to Navy. And then up front, Darian Varner and Paul Hudson, the third, leading the way. Varner, the D lineman, committed to Temple. It does make his job easier. I mean, we mentioned Oscar Smith. That's probably the best defense around at Hampton Roads. Best offense, to me, it's no question. It's Maury, averaging 49.8 points per game as they get ready to visit Ocean Lakes next week in a matchup of reigning regional champs.
Lake Taylor, I really, really thought they could beat Verona. I know you had them picked. Everybody had Verona picked, but are they that good? I just can't believe it was like they had like 40-some points at halftime.
It was 28-0, I think, in the first quarter. I mean, they just jumped on like bang. And that's happened twice now. 49-7 to Maury and 56-7. In between, everything else has been fine for Lake Taylor. They actually did beat Phoebus, so you can't say that they're not a really good team. They've given Phoebus their only loss, but in these games against Division V schools, this is where the enrollment now is showing a little more depth. If Lake Taylor's missing a guy or someone's hurt, their lack of depth can really be exposed in a hurry. Their front line guys can play with anybody, but if they're missing a key, you take one little part out of a car, and the car can go haywire or go into a ditch. You know about this with your old car you used to have. That's what happens. That's what's happening right now for the Titans. If Malik Newton's dinged up or somebody on defense is out of position, they get exposed quickly, even though that defense very seldom gets exposed.
I'm perplexed because, okay, I know you're talking about depth and whatever. They're 4A, 5A, whatever. But Lake Taylor can destroy 6As. Easy.
They can, yeah.
But they've lost to 2 powerhouse teams that are very well known for their offenses. But they're also loaded with high skill level players, Division I type players. But and I'm not in any way casting aspersion towards Lake Taylor. That's still my team. In fact, I'll say it right now. They'll beat Norcom next week.
Ooh.
I'm saying it now. The Greyhound people are going to hate me. I know that.
Robert Jackson, I hope all you Greyhounds are listening. I hope they'll fry you on a platter.
Lake Taylor will win next week. I'm just telling you.
Are you guaranteeing? Are you going Rasheed Wallace?
I don't make my locks until towards the end of the week.
Your locks. You need to change your locks. I tell you that right now because they'll find your house and you'll be in trouble, my friend.
I'm going with Lake Taylor. I just cannot believe. I was really surprised about the Maury game. I thought it'd be much closer.
I didn't. Hermitage, remember they had the whole coaching situation with David Bedwell, the embezzlement. Earl Kinney's the interim coach. They got that win over Thomas Dill, but the last couple of weeks they've struggled. I think they're a year away. I did. Maury's just putting on everybody right now.
Yeah, and I know Verona was good, but I really thought Lake Taylor can. Now, was it Verona, which made me want to pick them, home cooking idea and all that? But I just think Lake Taylor's good enough. But again, I'm just going to say, I guess I started getting more credence to Verona.
Sure.
Almost put them on the level of Highland Springs.
Well, we'll find that out when those two collide later on in the district, in the Capital District. They've always had talent, and the knock on Verona has been in the past. They couldn't win the big games. Stu Brown's team getting that done last night. Maybe the passing game for Lake Taylor. They've got a very capable quarterback who's led some game-winning drives and comebacks in Jeff Foster, but something's not quite clicking with him and his receivers yet this year. You'd think they'd put up some more points to also take some pressure off that defense too. So it's not just the defense here. They've been a little one-dimensional at times, and when Newton's not out there, it's also affected them a great deal. On the offensive line, there's some new faces. They haven't quite gelled and been as cohesive. Again, they beat Norcom and Church in the next 2 weeks at home. Everything will be back on track for the Titans, who still remain a contender out of Region 4A. And I dare say, despite those 2 losses, they still may be the favorite, even if they're not the number 1 seed. So
I still look at it that way. I still think they'll be very much come state level time. They'll be there.
By the way, Churchland, you look at Churchland, right? They lost to Maury 42-0 September 20th. You take that game away, they're giving up just 5 points a game. Maybe that shows you 2 things. One, Churchland defense is pretty good, led by Kenny Gallup on the back end. Their secondary's tackling well. He's going to Howard. And 2, that tells you how just lethal the Maury offense is. If they can put up that many points on a defense that hasn't given up 3 touchdowns to anybody else all year.
I thought Booker T. Churchland would be much closer. In fact, I even thought Booker T. had a chance to really win the game, but no scoring at all. That's hats off to Churchland. I think that's a team that's getting stronger and stronger, more confident. You get big wins like that, and those kids are more focused. They listen better because things are working. As long as they don't get big-headed, like they act like we don't have to work and beat anybody, because that's not going to happen. They're going to be a team that's going to be, you're going to talk deep into playoffs about.
I think I told you in the offseason they're going to go 7-3. Right now they're sitting at 5-1. They got Norview next. I think they can get to 6-1. Then there are 2 real barometer games, Lake Taylor and Norcom. They might be telling Matt Hatfield here, hey, we're going to go better than 7-3. We might get to 8-2. So those are going to be two games to watch out there for the Truckers, who did a number on Rodney Hammond and that Booker's offense that not too long ago had put up 66 on Armstrong. All right, Eastern is done. You want to go to the privates and get them out of the way, or do you want to go to the beach?
We always save the best for last for the privates, so we're going to go to the beach.
All right.
Let me hear it.
There he goes, Alex. I did pick Princess Anne. We won't say about how much I picked Princess Anne.
42-9.
There
42-6.
we go. Oh, man. Just roll me
the
over
only
with
score
the
I
truck.
can remember you predict, but I remember that one.
Well, I just watched PA, and they looked magnificent last week. And then I walked out at wasn't at Kellum last night. I was at Cox. It was Cox and Kellum at Cox. And I told one of the police officers, I thought he was going to arrest me. I said, I know nothing about high school football, folks. After I watched PA just look as dominant as can be. And Bayside's got talent. They've had miscues, but perhaps the game of the night, you can make a case for it besides that score fest with the 5 overtime game involving Southampton and Brunswick. It was in the Beach District. Bayside, Princess Anne, Cavaliers pretty much got an early lead and led by a slim margin the whole night. It was tight throughout. PA got a pick 6 in the game. In fact, that's the third pick 6 Bayside's thrown, but a touchdown catch from Nick Young, two-sport athlete, from the quarterback Deshaun Wright. And late in the game, PA gets a big completion to Tony Grimes. Now, there is some question whether he caught the ball or not, which gave PA a chance. So the Bayside fans were sitting there going, wait a second, he didn't catch the ball. Regardless, PA had it inside the 10, got down to the 1-yard line. A penalty pushes PA back. 4th and goal, less than 20 seconds to go. James Jaeger, the first-year coach, doing a splendid job at PA, says, we're going to go with the field goal. And it gets blocked. Credit to Jermaine Smith with the blocked field goal, the unsung hero for Bayside. John White's Marlins in a season saver, 14-12 over PA last night. Are you videoing this? What are you doing over there? Oh, goodness. You're killing me. 14-12. You were right, sir. I was wrong. I'll eat my crow. Are you happy now?
No, I'm not going to rub it in because I'm still behind. And
I hope John White's not listening because he might call in and bust my chops.
I just had faith in Bayside. Again, I'm not going to say anything bad about PA because they're having a really good year and deserving so. But Bayside needs to get off the whatever they call that.
The schneid?
The schneid, whatever. I don't know what a schneid is.
What is a schneid?
Like George Carlin
said. Like a schnauzer? Like a schnauzer and a schneid?
It's like George Carlin said. Who made these sayings and what are these sayings?
Oh, George Carlin. That's my dad's favorite comedian of all time.
Good. He is good. But
we can't say everything he says on the air, though. We'll get in trouble with the SEC, too. So.
We'll be off real quick.
Yeah, real fast.
But I'm glad. Bayside needed that. Maybe now they can get going. But now who do they play next week?
Well, they have a Saturday game at 2 o'clock next Saturday. It's the homecoming game against Tallwood. But this was a season saver to get to 2-3 because if you fall to 1-4, you're not making the playoffs in Region 5A. Their schedule allows their next 3 games, and I think this is going to be key. They can't get caught looking past somebody because they could get nipped by the team in the middle of this sandwich 3-game set. Tallwood at Green Run, Kempsville before they finish up with Salem and Ocean Lakes on the road. And they have beaten Salem each of the last 3 years. I'm not saying they're going to beat the undefeated top dog in the Beach. The Sun Devils have the defense to dominate anybody in the Beach. But things looking a lot better today. As you know, 2-3 feels much better than 1-4.
It's almost light years difference, even though it's one game. It really is. And again, these kids have to keep believing in themselves, keep paying attention. It's like, what else you do? Either you get back in the trenches and you got to get better and better, or you just quit. And that's not an option when it comes into sports. You just don't quit.
I got caught in the hype and the hoopla and the emotion of this wonderful PA story, a surprise team. They've been down for so many years. Coach Yeager doing a nice job. They have the top defensive back among juniors in the nation in Tony Grimes. You know, they were 4-1 going into last night, Ed, and they came in as the number. We have to look at playoffs now because it's getting to that point. The 5 seed in 5A. Their schedule, bye week, then it's Cox, Green Run, at Lansdowne, at Tallwood. I was sitting here last week saying, man, they could be an 8-2 team, dare I say. A couple games there with Cox, Lansdowne, and I would even rule out Green Run there. PA could be a bubble team as opposed to, had they won that game last night, we might be talking about PA hosting a first-round playoff game. So not only was it a season saver for Bayside, it could be a season changer for PA. They surely hope it wakes them up and they come off the bye week and can upend Cox, but we shall see. It's also an interesting angle for them as they move forward. Speaking of Cox, I was there last night in Virginia Beach. They beat Kellum 47-14, and what a job by Bill Stachelski's Falcons. They continue to impress in many ways, running the football extremely well. You'll hear his interview in a little bit here on High School Sports Talk presented by VirginiaPreps.com. 370 yards rushing on 39 carries for them as they defeat the Kellum Knights last night. Other scores in the Beach District, it was Lancetown shutting out First Colonial 41-0 as Tommy Reedman's Eagles get ready to play Cox and Luke Manhaskett. Pay attention to him, folks. He is playing outstanding. 6 catches, 165 yards, 2 touchdowns of 75 yards and 55 yards. Quarterback Chris Price with 3 touchdown passes, and that Lansdowne defense with 3 interceptions as they record their second straight shutout. 4-2 now on the season for Lansdowne. And the other 2 results in the Beach last night, it was Tallwood 32-0 over Kempsville. And the other game that's a candidate for game of the night, Ocean Lakes Green Run 35-30. Believe Ocean Lakes was up 11 with 5.5 minutes to go. Tried to dart over to this game after my game with Cox and Kellum. And I tell you what, wild finish. Green Run got an 80-yard touchdown. They got an interception, I believe, in the red zone. But as the Stallions were driving for the potential game-winning touchdown past midfield, Nariani Hughes for Ocean Lakes makes the game-clinching interception as Ocean Lakes survives the upset bid and holds off the surging Stallions 35-30.
Bay Rivers, other than, of course, not going right for you with the PA game.
Bay
right
Rivers, Beach.
Beach.
Yeah.
Bay Rivers on my mind for some reason. Everything else kind of went according to plan. Green Run playing Ocean Lake very well. Green Run's a team I thought would win more than what they have so far for this year. I know they're playing a lot of youngsters, but I just thought they'd do a little bit better. Kind of thought they might be like the PA situation.
Yeah.
The PA's taken off. But everything else is going according to form, and see if it continues.
Very pivotal game for Green Run at Kellum next week because their schedule is extremely tough to finish. They've got Bayside, at PA, Cox, and Lansdowne. So that's a game that they need to get against a Kellum team that can run the ball and play ball control there. That wraps up the Beach scores. And to finish up here, the private schools from last night, Portsmouth Christian over Chincoteague 60-13. Fairmount Heights out of Maryland doubled up Catholic 28-14. It was Blue Ridge over Norfolk Christian 34-20. And there you have it last night in Hampton Roads high school football action. Oh, yeah, one more I got to throw out there, too. Hats off to Greenbrier Christian. Tell you what, Coach Kevin Washington doing a good job in his first year. 54-28 over Brunswick Academy as the Gators pull even to 500 at 3-3. So there you have it, the scores from Hampton Roads. It is High School Sports Talk brought to you by VirginiaPreps.com and Larry King Law. Engineer next, you call 757-INJURED. We'll take a timeout. We got some interviews to come your way and look ahead to next week's schedule right here on ESPN Radio 94.1. A little bonus time today here on High School Sports Talk presented by VirginiaPreps.com on ESPN Radio 94.1 with the coach Ed Young. I am Matt Hatfield. Alex Brooks along for the ride. No Thomas Simmons show today. We're going to 11:30 because of Penn State and Purdue coming your way at 11:30. I think Thomas is out celebrating Keandre Lambert going to Penn State. That's why he's not here today, as the Maury wide receiver has decided to go to the Big Ten. I heard he was excited about that because he is a Nittany Lion and he chose them over the Hokies. A lot of angry Hokie fans today. The Maury 4-star and All-American. Let me tell you something. That was some kind of seniors today at Maury High School at the pep rally. Lots of media, lots of people, and congrats to Keandre. We're going to play in a little bit the interview that Doree McCain did with us. You can watch the full Keandre Lambert interview today on VirginiaPreps.com and go to the podcast page for 757 at 6 to hear it. As the coach played it last night on the show, as well as Karan Prunties from Norcom. He's headed to Liberty along with Gabe Fooster from Deep Creek. But Ed, one of your favorites from Cox High School. You know who he is. You tell him to throw the flea flicker on 4th and 35.
Stack the house. Yeah.
They beat the Kellum Knights last night.
Did he run flea flicker last night?
Did not run a flea flicker, no.
Well, you know what? I'm going to find out what he had to say after that game last night because my partner, Matt Hatfield, here happened to be at that game and got a chance to speak to Coach Stack after their big win over Kellum. Let's see what he had to say here on ESPN Radio 94.1.
All right, here with Cox head football coach Bill Sachelski as Falcons win it tonight 47-14 over Kellum, and they're playing We Will Rock You tonight. The Falcons brought it, Coach. A great start, 21-0 first quarter. You know about this being a rivalry game. I know you had a key guy up front on the offensive line that was out tonight, but your guys answered the call in that first period.
Yeah, absolutely. We did a lot of things right tonight. Couple mistakes, including a few picks, but for the most part, we executed the exact same way we had planned. Our defense was lights out again. I think the only score that Kellum had was a late score against our second or third team guys and a pick six. So, again, the defense is really helping the momentum, and the offense is getting better every game.
we knew in the spring that you lost so many key parts from last year, and Tavion Robinson and Jackson Morgan, Leno Lester. I think a lot of people were wondering, like, man, what's this team going to be like? But I feel like you guys are like the Tallwood team of a couple of years ago, where you've kind of surprised, maybe even yourself to a degree. We knew about the 3 different quarterback options you had with Dylan Hauser and Dominic Wilson and Kendall Spriggins. You got a couple different rushing options as well to run the ball with.
Oh, yeah. Andre Stevens, number 17, has been, since our first game, he's getting himself into shape. He didn't get a lot of touches last year, and he was injured a lot, but he has not lost yards yet on a give. So we know we can give him on a downhill play, and he's going to get yards. Corey is more of a cutter. Corey Hunter, he also plays defense. And then with Dominic Wilson and Dylan Hauser at quarterback. Dylan is doing a great job managing the game, and he's just elusive. Like, he's very deceptive. He doesn't look like he's all that fast, but he makes guys miss. And Dominic is just explosive. He puts one foot in the ground and he makes a cut, and you saw him on that long touchdown there. He's gone.
As people are probably hearing with the wind and seeing it, it's getting colder a little bit now, finally, after these 90-degree days, and you know, temperature changes as you get to November. Running the ball's going to be big. Your offensive line, though, I mean, I know going in tonight, man, Kellum's pretty big. They always are. You had to be pleased with how that unit progressed tonight, despite a few little bit of slip-ups there.
Yeah, no, the offensive line, our right tackle, Eric Arnett, that was his first start as a varsity guy, and he did a great job. And our option game actually looked good. We pitched a couple for, I think, touchdowns or close down by the goal line. And, you know, Dylan, again, executed that well. Our guys that were receiving the pitch were in the right spot. And as much as we want to kid ourselves that we want to get better at the pass, which we really do, but it always comes back to the run game for us. You know, we play pretty good defense and we run the ball, and that's kind of what's been our hallmark over the years. And I think if we can continue on this path, you know, we get some tough opponents coming up. That's obviously the recipe when November rolls around.
I'll wait that in a minute, but two more for you. Appreciate the time. You know, it's funny, in pregame we chatted, two guys we talked about. I mentioned to you, EC Atute. Boy, is he a player. His second pick six of the season tonight. He balled out, and the guy you said, watch out for him, Matt, Dominic Wilson. He had 2 runs at 50 yards longer, plus a kick return that was big. Those two guys, you got them back another year, don't you?
Oh, yeah. They're all a lot of these guys are juniors. Number 4 is Zaire Lawrence. He scored also. He's one of our slots. Of course, Dylan and Dominic, they're both quarterback and athletes. They're juniors. So we got a lot of guys coming back. We only have about 6 or 7 seniors on the roster, I think. So that's definitely something positive to keep in mind. But I'm real happy about our guys. I'm glad some of the other guys that don't get a lot of time got in too. And so very good night. And our special teams, our kicker, Mason Leslie did a nice job. He had a week last week where we couldn't even play him, or 2 weeks ago. And so he's had 2 weeks off, and now he's kicking the ball better than he ever has.
Well, that's a big deal when he gets in the end zone for a touchback. Maybe that team starts at 20, maybe 80 yards. Last one. All right, you got Lansdowne coming up. You know how athletic they always are. This Beach District, I mean, I know Salem's the only unbeaten team, but this is a pivotal game for you guys now in Division 5. They know they're going to be in Division 6, but with the seeding battles in Division 5, it's a meat grinder, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't even started looking at that yet. We need to get through some more games first, but Lansdowne is always athletic, and they're scary. We always play them really well. I think we beat them in a close game last year. Haven't even seen them on film this year, to be honest with you, but I know Coach Riemann does a good job and has his athletes ready all the time. So we're going to start game planning tomorrow morning, and our defensive coaches will have a meeting, and our offensive coaches will do what we do, and we'll try and find our weaknesses and see if we can execute some stuff on both sides of the ball.
Well, thank you so much. The Falcons have won 4 in a row. Congrats on the win. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Matt.
So there you have it. That was Bill Stachelski's Cox Falcons getting a win last night at Overkellum, 47-14. They've played rather well since that loss to Ocean Lakes, a close one, 31-27 in the opener, running the ball extremely well over 300 yards on the ground. Andre Stevens, Corey Hunter mixing it up with different guys, had his right tackle out, but they got it done. And something that jumps out at me about this Cox team here, Eddie, I look at their roster, and many of their better guys he just touched on in the interview are coming back next year, whether it's Stevens or whether it's EC Atute, or as you like to say, EC Atute. Yeah. And you say easy for you to say the other way?
Easy for you to say, that's right.
Corey Hunter, Andre Stevens, Dylan Hauser, George Balance, Zaire Lawrence. I'm not quite sure who wins that game with Lansdowne next week. Lansdowne might have the better senior upper-class guys with Luke Manhaskett and Carlton Winston and Chris. Well, actually, Carlton's a junior, but Luke Manhaskett and Chris Price and some of those fellows. But man, Cox is set up to make a real run next year, both in the Beach and Region 5A, with so many juniors. And this is, I think, encouraging for Coach Stack to see after losing those big names like Tavion Robinson and Leno Lester and Jackson Morgan. He's got a program there. They're not a one-hit wonder.
Yeah, I just think that this team will be. Who does Cox have left coming up here?
It's Lancetown at PA, Tallwood at Green Run, and at Salem. So I'm not sure they're going to get a high seed in Region 5A, but they're a team. Listen, if you're a 1, 2, or 3 seed, you do not want to draw them in the first round. Remember, Oscar Smith a couple years ago had to go to double overtime when they were in Division 6 just to get out of that first round game with Cox. Now, they had Tavion Robinson leading the way with the Superman cape there, but it's not a team you want to draw in the first round. They're very dangerous. They've given Bayside fits years past. They've knocked them out of the playoffs. They gave Ocean Lakes all they could handle for a half last year and had the lead. So they're a tough first-round draw for somebody.
And we say that, and here's why I say it. They don't make a lot of mistakes. They don't fumble the ball, turn it over here and there. They don't take big gambles, though I've been trying to get Coach to do that flea flicker, the end arounds, and the halfback option passes, and he's thrown some of that stuff in the past because he's already had it. It wasn't because of me. Come on, people. He's already had it in the playbook for years. But it's the type of team that when they get ahead, they play great ball control. They don't make mistakes. They can frustrate the heck out of you. And you're waiting for them to take stupid chances, and they don't do that when they got that lead. So that's why you don't want to play them in the first round, because we hear that a lot. Oh, that's a team you don't want to see in the playoffs. And people will say to me, Coach, what do you really mean by that? Isn't it any good team you don't want to see? And I'll be honest, as a coach, there are certain teams I don't mind seeing in the playoffs. Of course, I want to get there first. But I don't mind seeing them play because I know.
Teams? I'm going to write them down. Let those coaches know. Go ahead. Give me those teams.
I can't say them out loud because they'll think I'm picking on them. But there are certain teams in basketball I'd love to see in the playoffs because I know I'm moving on to the second round. And there are other teams that I really don't want to see them play because I need a miracle to beat them out of the first round. But it's the same in all sports. And it's based on matchups. That's really what it comes down to. And if you've done your scouting work, you'll know that. And really in-depth scouting work, you'll know that. And the bottom line is, your kids have to perform, period. You could be the greatest coach in the world. If them kids don't perform, you don't win.
Yeah, it's all about the strategy and preparation, no doubt about it. And I'll tell you what, that November 8th matchup in the regular season finale, Cox at Salem is going to be very fascinating. Salem's had their number in years past, but that'll be a huge game for playoff points and positioning there going into the postseason in Region 5A. Well, Tallwood got a win last night. You could argue it was kind of a season saver for them, snapping a 3-game losing streak. They dropped Kempsville, a 62nd loss in a row for the Chiefs, 32-0 last night. And the running back, Gunnar White, he ran wild for the Lions, and our own Reese Becker of VirginiaPreps.com caught up with him after the game. Here's what Gunnar told him on ESPN Radio 94.1.
Tallwood running back Gunnar White, 153 and 2 touchdowns today, 32-0 win over Kempsville. Talk to me about the game and how you ran today.
Yeah, I mean, I just got to give it all to my O-line, man. I've been pushing them, kind of been struggling the last few weeks, but I really pushed them hard this week. They all stepped up. Tyler Holiday, Miles Lee, Chris Johnson, Addison Marco, Daquan Knox, all of them just stepped up and had an amazing game.
You and DK went over 250 combined. What's that like to have both of you and him firing on all cylinders?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, we know that's what we're capable of doing. We haven't been able to do it the past few weeks, but this should be an every week thing, really. I mean, we both just bring a lot to the table. You know, one of us gets tired, the other one just comes in and picks up where he left off.
You guys sitting at 2-3 now, halfway through the season. Look like you have a good two-headed running back duo.
Yes, sir.
What's your outlook for the next 5 games here as you all try to get into the Beach District playoffs and try to advance?
Yeah, I mean, we put ourselves in a tough spot going 1-3 before tonight, and we just got to keep pushing, keep getting better every week. And I mean, we all know we have the potential to go 7-3. We just got to bounce back. Those last 3 weeks, I mean, that's not us. We're just going to move on.
Broke off a few really big runs there. You had one 43-ish yard. Got called back because of a hold.
Yeah.
What's it like to be able to break off those big yards like that?
That's really what I trained for all off season. You know, last year I really wasn't able to get those breakaway runs, so I was just really worked on my breakaway speed all off season just to be able to be that home run hitter that we need.
Let's talk about recruiting. How's it going for you?
It's kind of slow right now. I was kind of playing injured last year, but it's starting to pick up a little. Hopefully I can string together some big games these next few weeks and just put something together.
Are you looking to play college as a running back, or are you thinking about switching positions?
I want to play running back, but I mean, I'll play anything, slot, running back, whatever they need.
All right, thank you very much.
So that was Reese Becker of VirginiaPreps.com chatting with Gunnar White, the Tallwood running back who got the job done for the Lions in their 32-0 shutout of Kempsville to move to 2-3 overall. They'll travel to Bayside next Saturday at 2 o'clock, Ed.
Yeah, the thing about Gunnar I liked was on that interview early, he said credit to his line. And he said about pushing them. I like that. He's got the big fellas, the earth movers up front to listen and where to go, because most running backs, they need one quick hole, and that's all it's going to be, a short quick hole. And then after that, they're racing past the lineman down the field anyway. So hats off to the youngster for talking about his lineman.
Earth movers. I've never quite heard that phrase for an offensive lineman.
Oh, that's what they are. They call them the big old hogs up front, the belly.
I've heard hogs, but Earth movers. I like that.
The big bellies.
I'm stealing that for one of my articles next week. Earth movers.
Yeah, you could do that as long as I get some money for it.
Not happening.
Because you tend to steal all my stuff that's copyrighted, and somehow you never go to jail.
Nope. I have the loopholes to get out of it. We're going to hear from Daree McCain of the Maury Commodores about Keandre Lambert headed to Penn State when we come back. Give us a call at 757-687-9494. You have a chance to hop in here. A few more minutes left on the Trinity and Trilogy Tattoo Hotline. That's 757-687-9494 on Ed Young's favorite radio station. What is it?
Easy. That's ESPN Radio 94.1. Puts out the big bucks for us to continue. Who's us? Matt Hatfield, and of course myself, Ed Young, the coach. And my partner, Matt Hatfield, got a chance to speak with Maury head coach Daree McCain on his thoughts on one of his top players, Keandre Lambert's commitment to Penn State University up there in State College, PA. Let's see what Matt and Daree had to talk about here on ESPN Radio 94.1.
All right, here with Maury head football coach Daree McCain. He sends his fifth, senior on to the next level in this 2020 class. We know about Ty Granger going to Towson, C.J. Beasley, Virginia Tech, Darian Varner, Temple, Deshaun Peel, Navy, and Keandre Lambert now headed to Penn State. I'm glad I didn't forget anybody, Coach, but this one, just like the other guys, all very unique in their own way, and Keandre's got a chance to go down as one of the best to ever come out of the 757.
Yeah, for sure. He set himself up for that ever since I first took the job. To be one of the best, and he's still on his way now this season. He's having a great season. But just like I tell people all the time, just even more than that, I think people see the catches and the punt returns and his throws and all that stuff he does on the field. But him as a student in the classroom is like no other. I mean, teachers love him, and he gets it done in the classroom too, so I'm happy for him.
I go back to when he was a 10th grader and you got hired at Maury, and you and your coaches came out to Kellum Passing League, and he's making these over-the-catch plays, and you go, wow. What was kind of the first wow moment for you as a coach with him, be it on the athletic side or academic side, or what's kind of the first wow moment for you with Keandre?
I would say the first two wow moments, I would say when he did make that catch at Kellum. He caught over two kids. I think it was two kids from Princess Anne or something like that. And it was just like, okay, yeah, because you saw flashes in practice, but then seeing it like that, you're like, okay, he can do some things. So that was a wow moment. And I would say the other thing is just seeing how he does not like to be a bad student in class, and not attitude-wise, but like he doesn't like to have bad grades. He doesn't like to not turn in assignments. He's that type of kid in the classroom, and I don't want to say it's rare, but to have a kid like that who cares about the classroom just as much as he does on the field is something phenomenal. So I know he's going to do special things in and on and off the field.
Well, you played the game too. I think that the best ones had that drive to be the best in everything they do, whether it's checkers, basketball, badminton, football, and in the classroom, what is it, 3+ GPA?
Yeah, he got 3.4.
3.4.
Yeah.
When his recruiting started taking off, I think everybody kind of figured Virginia Tech, because Uncle Cam Chancellor went there. He picks Penn State today. What kind of guidance did you and your coaches, his inner circle, his family give him through this process, knowing that he'd be pulled a lot of different ways?
I think that's been the biggest thing is that people. I think the first thing is his uncle has done a great job of letting Dre be Dre. I think a lot of people think or thought that he had a big influence on whatever. Now he has a big influence on his life when it comes to personal stuff, but when it came to college choices and stuff like that, Cam let Dre be Dre, and I'm happy and I'm proud of him for that. And Dre is being Dre. He did, like I said, he did it in the classroom, and he did it picking his school. And that's as far as coaches, we just support him, whatever decision that he was going to make, and where he was going to feel comfortable going home. Dre is in a happy place right now. He picked where he wanted to go, not where somebody forced him to go or whatever. So I'm happy for him. He picked where he wanted to go, and he's happy, so I'm good.
Last one, thank you for your time. Looking at Penn State, big picture, they've sent a lot of guys to the league. I mean, Deshaun Hamilton comes to mind from receiver. A lot of guys from Virginia they've gotten here lately. He mentioned how Coach Jared Parker, the assistant coach, receivers coach, and James Franklin remind him a lot of the coaches here, yourself. What was it about their program that makes you think he's going to be a natural fit there? I
like the coaching staff. I like what Coach Franklin is doing. And really, I mean, all the other schools that Dre was even considering, North Carolina, they're doing a great job with their staff. Virginia Tech is doing a good job. Everybody was considering. But I mean, he fell in love with Penn State. He gave Coach Franklin a call on Tuesday or Wednesday. Told him that he was in, and they accepted it. And I'm happy for him, man. He's going to do great things at Penn State, and we're nothing but happy for him here. The team and the coaches are happy for him.
I mean, all the boxes have pretty much been checked off. The grades are good. He's performing big games. He's helped you guys win a region title, probably a district title this year on your way to it. All-American he's gotten. I guess there's one more box to check off, which is that game 15 of the year. For you, what's going to be, whether you guys get to that game, win it or not, what's going to be kind of your I guess, memories of him as he moves on to the next level when that comes? Just his maturity, just seeing him mature from when I got him as a 14, 15-year-old freshman to now, just to see his growth, his maturity. You can tell he's becoming a young man. You can tell he's becoming more wise. He starts to understand stuff a little bit more. And I'm proud of him on that end. He's going to do great things. Sky's the limit for him. And like I say about the rest of my kids, CJ, Pill, Darian, that's a special class. And I know I said that when I first took the job, that this 2020 class is going to be special. And it's panning out like that. And I'm happy for all those guys. And they have one common goal, and that's to get the job done this year. So it's really less work on me. It's really them. Those guys push themselves to the limit to make sure they get to game 15. Well, day to remember for Keandre Lambert as he gets ready to go to Happy Valley once his senior season's over. Thank you so much, Coach. See you soon. All right, here was Maury head football coach.
That was Daree McCain, the head football coach of Maury, discussing Keandre Lambert's commitment to Penn State. It's High School Sports Talk presented by VirginiaPreps.com on ESPN Radio 94.1. We've got Penn State and Purdue coming up here in about 5 or 6 minutes on the show with Coach Ed Young. I'm Matt Hatfield. Ed, your thoughts on his pick of Penn State? Everybody said, we sort of touched on it a couple years ago, oh, he's going to go to Virginia Tech because Cam Chancellor went there. That's his uncle. Didn't happen that way. I mean, Clemson was involved, Georgia, UNC, which got a lot of momentum late. It's ultimately Penn State, which now has, I believe, 4 of the top 20 players in Virginia in this class. They got the last 2 number 1 rated running backs in Devin Ford out of North Stafford, Ricky Slade from C.D. Hilton, and they've invaded Virginia, this turf, and things are not real well with Virginia Tech, be it on the field or in the recruiting game at this moment. Lost to Duke by a gazillion points last week, and you wonder if people are going to get angrier and angrier and want Justin Fuente out of there. They've got to get some more 757 guys.
Well, first of all, Penn State used to be down here fairly regularly back in the day. Paterno's Heights, they got who they wanted out of Virginia for the most part. So I'm not surprised they still have a connection, though it's a whole different staff, and that was light years ago. As far as Keandre making that decision, it could have been a little bit of, you know what, I want to go somewhere where I don't have that shadow over me. And I'm not so much that. I just think Penn State presented the best opportunity for him. It's a tremendous program. State College, Happy Valley, I'm from that area. Penn State football up there is still religion, just like it is in Blacksburg with Virginia Tech. When your team is not winning, people are upset. They want changes. Doesn't matter whether they make sense or not. We just want changes. Well, to win at the highest level, you have to continue to bring in the studs. That's just the bottom line. You win games with stud players who listen and get the things done, not just because you have a named coach. Justin Fuente's done a great job. He was at Memphis, and if he leaves Virginia Tech, he'll do a great job somewhere else. He's not going to go into the ground. He's not going to be done coaching. People just got to let guys coach. Let them, you're going to have some down years. When you're at that top level, you're going to have down years. It's people just aren't used to it, and 8, 9 wins, it's just unacceptable.
Let's take one more call here on the Trinity and Trilogy Tattoo Hotline at 757-687-9494. I think we've got BJ on a cell. You're on ESPN Radio. BJ, what's going on?
Hey, Matt.
Hey, what's going on?
Hope you enjoyed your Saturday.
Doing well.
And I heard your comments about Penn State making some inroads in the area, and I want to remind you that there's another school who's been making some inroads here in this 2020 class that's picked up a couple of guys. In fact, they have 4 top 50 in the 7x7 top 50 right now.
Yeah, talking about Liberty,
my
right?
alma mater. Yep, my alma mater.
They're doing really well.
They picked up Karan Prunty yesterday, and they got Gabe Fuster as well. Very sneaky, good linebacker out of Deep Creek. So I really think that you're seeing a lot of. It's definitely hurting Virginia Tech a good bit, and I really think that they got to do some serious work if they're going to try and get back into this area. But it's a real surprise to see. Well, Hugh Freeze making inroads like he is, as well as James Franklin, all of them doing very well. I'll take it off the air.
Yeah, thank you for the call, BJ. I think that's a good point, Ed. I mean, Liberty's coming here. When Old Dominion made that transition from FCS to FBS, people wondered, they're going to have to fend off JMU, William and Mary, Richmond, maybe even a couple of players that Tech and UVA will have on the board, and East Carolina, who they just played a couple weeks ago here, or a couple days ago, I should say. Last week they played them, East Carolina. Nonetheless, Liberty's coming here. They got Tank Land last year from Ocean Lakes. They got Cam Hunter and Corey Lucas coming from Indian River. And Hugh Freeze has coached in the SEC. I know he's had the whole health issues, but they've almost got 30 commitments right now to Liberty. I think they're at 24, 25. They've done a bang-up job, if you will. And they're not been known to, on the basketball front, they haven't really recruited the 757 extremely hard. I remember they got years back Bill Weaver from Bethel. They got B.J. Jenkins, who you coached from Green Run. But I think it's good to see them come here and start to make this area a bigger priority, if you will.
Well, first of all, they have to make it a priority. You cannot be a Virginia school in any sport and not make Hampton Roads area a priority. You'd be crazy. I don't care if you have connections in other states.
Prunty had the best line yesterday. Didn't he say, I think at the end of it, he was really short and sweet about it. He's like, it's where all the talent's at. 757.
Come here. There's talent here, yes.
It was like,
so, it doesn't surprise me. Now, I can't compare a Liberty and a Penn State. Number one, 2 different levels. I'm sorry. Liberty fans, I'm sorry. It's 2 different levels. Liberty will not get a 5 or 4-star athlete out of this area. If they get a 3, they're lucky. Penn State can get a 5 out here easy. But Liberty can get their hands on a lot of good talent and some diamonds in the rough if they stick around.
You've got Old Dominion football later on today as the Monarchs play host to Western Kentucky. By the way, in the picks, Alex, I'm taking the Monarchs 27-24. Ed's going Western Kentucky 27-24. So somebody's going to have bragging rights on that one.
The line's 3, so
yeah, you went push. That's not too fair. That's not nice of you, Ed. You should have gone either one way or the other. You went push on the bad job by you.
On who?
Western Kentucky ODU.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did. He said the line's 3, and you picked WKU by 3. I hope all the ODU fans throw eggs at you today.
Yeah, I want Old Dominion win. I'll change that.
You can't change it.
7. I got 7. I got them by a touchdown.
That'll do it for high school
sports. They haven't
sports
played the game yet. What do you mean I can't change it?
Well, you do this all the time. It drives me nuts. For Alex and the coach, I'm Matt. We'll do it again next week. Penn State Purdue's coming up next right here on your home for sports. It's ESPN Radio 94.1.